How long have your mornings felt like a blur? You wake up, and before your feet hit the ground, you're already behind, mentally scattered, emotionally reactive, and physically drained. But here's the truth. You're not lacking time, you're lacking control. For centuries, Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus began each morning not with chaos but with clarity. They didn't chase comfort, they trained their minds. While others rushed into the day, the Stoics prepared for it intentionally, powerfully, and quietly. And that's what this video is about. If you've ever felt like your mind was running you, this is your reset. In the next few minutes, you'll learn exactly what Stoics did every morning to build mental toughness, emotional self-control, and personal strength. These aren't motivational quotes. These are daily actions. Stoic habits that help men rise above noise, stress, and excuses. Every habit here is battle-tested, clear, actionable, timeless. And by the end of this video, you won't just understand the Stoic way, you'll live it. Because men don't need more noise in the morning, we need direction. So if you're ready to stop reacting and start becoming, like this video, sub-channel, and share it with a man who's tired of drifting. This morning could be the last one you waste, or it could be the first one you own. The choice is yours. Let's begin. 1. Start with gratitude for what you already have. You wake up and before your feet hit the ground, your mind is already sprinting. Deadlines, bills, pressure. You check your phone and suddenly you're comparing your life to a stranger's highlight reel. You haven't even brushed your teeth and you already feel behind. But here's the truth most men miss. If the first thing you focus on is what you lack, you've already lost control of the day. The Stoics knew this. That's why their mornings didn't begin with urgency. They began with ownership. Not over time, money, or reputation, but over attention. And the first place they directed that attention was toward what had not been taken from them. Breath, thought, reason, choice. These aren't cliches, they are anchors. In a world built to pull you toward chaos, starting with what's still yours is how you plant your feet. Gratitude isn't weakness. It's not comfort. It's not a morning affirmation whispered into a mirror. Gratitude, for a Stoic, is an act of mental discipline. It's a weapon against anxiety. It's a shield against entitlement. It's a daily refusal to be enslaved by desire or fear. Most men chase what they don't have. The Stoic trains himself to remember what he does. Think of it this way. A soldier doesn't go into battle thinking about the weapons he left behind. He focuses on what he's carrying. The same goes for you. If you're facing conflict at work, pressure at home, or fear of the future, gratitude becomes your footing. It brings you back to ground zero. The fact that you still have a mind to use, a body to move, and choices to make. That's the difference. Most people begin their day from a deficit. A Stoic begins from a foundation. One is chasing, the other is choosing. That subtle shift from absence to abundance is not spiritual fluff. It's a neuropsychological reset. It tells your brain, I'm not broken, I'm not behind, I have what I need to begin. But don't just think about it, practice it. Before anything else, before coffee, before email, before noise, sit still, breathe, and name 3 things you still have that matter. Your ability to decide, your sense of direction, your strength to endure. Name them, own them. Start there. This isn't positive thinking, this is strategic stillness. Because a man who remembers what he already has isn't easy to shake. You want to control your mind? You want to lead your life instead of react to it? Then don't let the world dictate what you lack. Let your values remind you of what's present. That's how Stoics begin the day. Not in fear, not in craving, but in control. Quiet, grounded, prepared. Gratitude is not about perfection. It's your daily declaration that you already possess enough to take the next step. And that's all that matters. 2. Mentally prepare to deal with difficult people. Staying calm in chaos gives you power other men don't have. While the world reacts, you respond. While others get pulled into emotion, you stay rooted in reason. That's not luck, it's preparation. And every Stoic morning begins by preparing for people who will test your peace. You don't control the world. You don't control traffic, customers, your boss, your in-laws, or the guy who cuts you off when you're already late. But you do control how you meet them. That's the game. That's where real strength lives. Most men lose the battle before noon, not because of failure, but because of someone else's mood. That's weakness. Stoicism trains the opposite. The Stoic doesn't expect kindness from strangers or logic from the irrational. He doesn't expect calm from the loud or respect from the insecure. He expects nothing, and because of that, nothing surprises him. That's not cynicism. That's clarity. He knows the world is full of wounded men, emotionally volatile, ruled by fear, ego, or frustration, and he refuses to mirror them. Think of it like walking into a storm. If you expect sunshine, you panic. If you're armored, you move forward. It's not about avoiding the storm. It's about walking through it dry. That's how you approach people, ready, centered, unshaken. And the only way to stay unshaken is to anticipate the impact before it hits. But most men don't. They step into the day expecting peace and get slapped by chaos. They let a rude comment ruin their mood. Let one email shatter their focus. Let one stranger define their identity. It's emotional laziness, and it's a choice. You can do better. You have to. This is the discipline. Every morning before you speak to anyone, remind yourself, today I will face ego, anger, ignorance, impatience, and I will not hand them my mind. Say it like a shield. Say it like a man who chooses not to be dragged into other people's storms. That's what Epictetus meant when he said, "We are not disturbed by things, but by our opinion of things." It doesn't mean you become passive. Stoicism is not softness, it's control. You can be firm without being reactive. You can walk away without weakness. You can choose silence without submission. That's not suppression, it's strategy. It's how you protect your emotional energy from being hijacked by noise that doesn't belong to you. You don't fight every battle. You don't answer every fool. You don't fix every broken person. Your job is to guard your clarity, because if you lose that, you've already lost the day. So tomorrow, prepare, not with defense, but with direction. Say to yourself, today I expect the storm, and I'll walk through it with stillness. That's Stoicism in practice. That's self-discipline in action. That's how a man keeps his peace. Not by asking the world to be gentle, but by choosing to be grounded no matter what comes. 3. Do one voluntary hard thing. What happens when you start your day with something hard, and you choose it? Most men avoid discomfort until it finds them. Then they're shocked, paralyzed. They complain that life is too much, too fast, too unfair. But the Stoic doesn't wait for the hit. He steps in the ring first. He swings before life swings at him. Because the man who chooses difficulty on his terms becomes stronger than the man who waits for ease to end. Discomfort isn't the enemy. Avoiding it is. When you delay the hard thing, it gains power. When you face it early, it loses its grip. That's the Stoic strategy. Face resistance before it faces you. Not as punishment, not to prove anything, but because discipline starts with action, not mood. This is why every morning a Stoic does one thing he doesn't want to do. Not because he hates himself, because he trains himself. It could be a cold shower, a hard workout, writing when the brain says no, finishing what's overdue. The activity doesn't matter. What matters is this: you are doing it by choice, not force. You're stepping into friction on your terms. Most men hit snooze and tell themselves they'll get to it later. But the Stoic knows later is a lie. Later is for men who react. Morning is for men who lead. And leadership begins with self-command. If you can't command your own body, your own will, your first move of the day, then how can you expect to lead anything else? Think of it like sharpening a blade. Every repetition, every act of effort against resistance is friction that sharpens your edge. If you avoid that grind, you go dull, fast. And in a world that rewards sharp thinking, quick discipline, and emotional control, a dull man bleeds out slowly, not by failure, but by inertia. And here's the truth no one wants to say. The first hard thing of your day sets the tone for every decision after it. Skip the first test, and your standards drop. Face it, and your tolerance expands. Suddenly, you can say no to temptations. You can stay focused in noise. You can finish what others quit, all because you started your day proving to yourself, I don't need it to be easy. So tomorrow, wake up and go straight into resistance. Not recklessly, intentionally. Choose something uncomfortable, lean into it. Not because it feels good, it won't, but because it forges something deeper than comfort. It forges strength, stamina, and self-respect. Not the kind others hand you, the kind you earn alone. That's what the Stoics knew. You don't want to suffer. You walk into the pressure and learn to breathe inside it. That's what makes you unshakable. That's what builds a man. Pain chosen is power owned, so don't dodge it. Face it, first thing, every day. 4. Practice premeditation malorum. Visualize what could go wrong. What if your next failure didn't catch you off guard? What if the next storm, personal, financial, emotional, hit and you didn't flinch? That's the power of premeditation malorum, a daily Stoic habit that modern men ignore, but ancient warriors practiced like armor. Premeditation malorum means premeditation of evils. At first it sounds negative. Why think about what could go wrong? Isn't that just inviting anxiety? No, it's the opposite. It's a discipline of courage, a rehearsal of hardship, a way to take the sting out of what the future may throw at you by facing it mentally before it happens. Most men live in a state of passive hope. They pray today goes smoothly. They assume the deal will close, the car will start, the news will be good. And when it's not, they panic. They collapse. But the Stoic knows better. He doesn't expect life to be gentle. He prepares for life to punch and sharpens his mind so it doesn't bleed when it does. Every morning you visualize the worst, not to become bitter, but to become bulletproof. You imagine the loss, the delay, the insult, the collapse, and then you walk through it in your mind. You ask, if that happens, who do I become? You see yourself calm, calculated, still moving forward. And because you've already faced the blow mentally, it no longer controls you. This is mental toughness at its core. You don't build clarity by avoiding fear. You build it by staring directly at what you dread and refusing to bow to it. That's how warriors train. They don't just lift weights, they simulate chaos. They test their systems. They expect the unexpected so that when it comes, they've already moved past panic. Premeditation malorum is the same. It's not pessimism, it's precision. You anticipate loss so you can anchor yourself in what doesn't break. Your values, your discipline, your mindset. When everyone else is screaming, "Why me?" you're already moving on. Think of a firefighter. He doesn't walk into a burning building and wonder where the exits are. He knows. He's rehearsed it. While others are shocked, he's stable. That's what this habit gives you. Not fear, readiness. Tomorrow morning, give yourself 2 minutes. No screens, no noise. Just ask, if today goes wrong, what does that look like? Visualize the email that ruins your plan, the client who cancels, the back pain that flares up, the argument that erupts. Don't dramatize it, just face it. Then breathe. Say, even if that happens, I don't lose who I am. That's premeditation malorum, not a fantasy, not paranoia, a Stoic weapon, used by men who want to lead their life instead of chasing it. Because when you've already lived through the worst, in your mind, the real thing never owns you. You've trained for it, you've seen it, and you're still standing. That's control, that's stoicism. Train it every morning. 5. Sit in complete silence before the world begins. Silence gives you a head start while the rest of the world scrambles for noise. It clears your mental windshield before the fog of distraction settles in. And for the Stoic, silence isn't absence, it's training. It's where clarity is built, where emotional control is anchored, and where the day is claimed before it begins. Most men wake up and plug in. First thing in the morning, their attention is already hijacked by emails, by news, by everyone else's urgency. They think they're starting the day. In reality, they're reacting to it. There's no space, no breath, just motion. And they wonder why they feel overwhelmed by noon. It's not about time management, it's about mental discipline. And that starts with one practice: deliberate silence. Silence is not weakness. It's not retreat. It's your strongest play. It's you stepping away from the noise before the noise owns you. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but each morning he sat with his thoughts, not his schedule. Why? Because the man who doesn't command his mind first gets commanded by everything else. Silence isn't doing anything. It's doing the one thing that matters before anything else: reclaiming your focus. And let's be honest, most modern men fear silence. They avoid it. They drown it out with stimulation because silence exposes what's inside. But that's where you find strength. When you strip away the noise, you see what thoughts repeat, what feelings control you, what drives your actions when no one's looking. That's intel. That's awareness. That's how you learn to lead yourself. Think of it like tuning an instrument. You don't perform before adjusting. You don't walk into chaos without first aligning the one thing you can control, your state. And that happens in silence. Even 2 minutes of stillness done right can outperform 2 hours of rushed productivity. Because when the mind is clean, action becomes sharp, focus becomes lethal, decision becomes instinct. So tomorrow, before the notifications hit, before the coffee, before the outside world wakes up, sit. Just sit. No scrolling, no stimulation, no words. Just you in the moment. Breathe in. Let the noise come, but don't answer it. Let the thoughts drift, but don't chase them. Stay. Stay long enough to prove that your attention belongs to you. Not to algorithms, not to schedules, not to panic. Because that silence, that's not wasted time. That's where real men reset. That's where inner peace is trained. Not by waiting for the world to be quiet, but by creating that quiet on command. That's what Stoics do. They don't beg for stillness. They build it. Then they walk out the door, grounded, ready, and immune to noise, because they've already mastered their own. Start there. Start silent. Then speak with purpose. Then act with intent. That's how the day bends to you, not the other way around. 6. Respond, don't react. Even to yourself. Emotional control buys you time, clarity, and power in a world that punishes overreaction. When you master your response, you stop bleeding energy into things that don't deserve it. You stop turning small sparks into wildfires. And more importantly, you start leading, not just others, but yourself. Most men wake up and go straight into emotional autopilot. One message sets them off. One headline changes their mood. One thought, one memory, one look. And they're already thrown off course before the day begins. Not because of what happened, but because they gave their control away. The Stoic doesn't do that. He doesn't give that kind of power to anything outside him. He trains himself to pause, and that pause changes everything. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about owning them. It's about not letting your first impulse be your only move. You feel anger, you breathe. You feel doubt, you assess. You feel insulted, you wait. The gap between stimulus and response, that's where the man stands. And most men never step into that gap. They let emotions steer the wheel and then blame traffic for the crash. Imagine you're driving, and every time someone cuts you off, you swerve in rage. That's how most people live, reacting, losing their edge over nothing. Now picture another man, calm hands on the wheel. He sees the same chaos, but doesn't move unless he chooses to. That's stoicism behind the wheel, still, steady, in charge. But here's where most men go wrong. They think reaction equals strength. They think speaking first, shouting back, and hitting faster shows control. It doesn't. It shows weakness. Real control is quiet. It doesn't need to prove itself. It just chooses. And that choice begins in the morning when you set your standard. I will not be owned by my emotions today. And make no mistake, emotions aren't enemies. They're signals. But they're not the commander. You are. And if you train yourself to observe before acting, to question before exploding, to respond instead of lash out, you build something most men never touch. Command presence. A kind of calm that people feel when you walk in, not because you say much, but because you don't say what's unnecessary. So here's the practice. Tomorrow morning, before you open your mouth, before you answer the world, answer yourself. What emotion is driving me right now? And do I want it to? That's it. A question, a pause, a shift from reaction to response, from scattered to centered. And when life throws the next punch, because it will, you won't flinch. You'll breathe. You'll watch. You'll move when it matters and let go of what doesn't. That's not detachment. That's dominance. That's the man who doesn't yell to be heard, doesn't move to be seen, and doesn't need approval to know who he is. He responds, always. And by doing so, he leads everything that follows. 7. Journal to train your mind like a warrior trains his sword. Writing brings order to your chaos before the day adds more. It gives shape to your thoughts, clarity to your intentions, and power to your decisions. And the Stoics knew if you don't direct your mind early, the world will do it for you. That's why every morning, before the noise begins, they wrote. Not to look smart, not to be seen, but to see themselves. This isn't journaling for the sake of feeling good. This is warfare, mental warfare. You're facing down your fears, your impulses, your excuses, and you're putting them on paper so they no longer own you. That's what Marcus Aurelius did. That's what you can do. It's not therapy, it's training for awareness, for direction, for discipline. Most men drift through the day because they started it without anchoring their thoughts. They think discipline begins with action, but Stoics knew it starts in the mind. And the page is where the mind becomes sharp. That page doesn't lie, it doesn't flatter, it reflects. And if you write with honesty, it shows you who's really in charge. But here's where modern men get it wrong. They say they don't have time, yet they waste 30 minutes scrolling nonsense that gives them nothing. One page of focused writing can rewire how you move through the next 12 hours. That's not journaling, that's leadership. Writing strips away the noise. It forces you to name what matters. What am I avoiding? What do I need to face? What can I control? What do I refuse to let own me today? These aren't fluffy questions. These are weapons, and the man who sharpens them in the morning walks into the day already armed. Think of it like checking your internal compass. Every pilot does it before flight. Every soldier checks his gear. Every builder reviews his plan. But men think they can walk into life's battlefield with a foggy head and still win. That's arrogance. You write not because you're confused, but to stay clear. You write because you're building a habit of thought, because identity is forged in repetition. And every morning you pick up the pen, you're carving out who you are. You don't need to write 10 pages, 1 paragraph, 3 lines. But write like it matters. Write like you're briefing yourself before a mission. Because you are. You're not just planning the day, you're preparing to stay calm in chaos, focused in noise, sharp when others go numb. So tomorrow, don't skip the page. Don't wait for motivation. Sit, write, say what you need to hear, expose what you need to face, set your standard. Then go meet it, quietly, ruthlessly, consistently. That's Stoicism in action. That's what builds the man no one sees coming, because he's already spent the morning facing the one enemy that matters. 8. Act without needing applause. If your actions depend on applause, your discipline is weak. The Stoic builds his life on something stronger than praise, integrity. When you no longer need to be seen to do what's right, you've taken your first real step toward freedom. That's why each morning, before the world tells you who to impress, you choose to act for your standard, not someone else's reaction. Recognition feels good. It hits like a drug. You help, and someone says thank you. You lead, and someone says well done. But the Stoic knows that chasing validation is a trap, because once you start acting for approval, you lose control. You perform, you adjust, you compromise, and eventually you forget why you started in the first place. So here's the shift. The Stoic does the right thing and walks away. No selfie, no post, no announcement, just the quiet strength of a man who knows his principles don't need permission. That's not ego, that's control. That's the refusal to be a slave to other people's attention spans. Look at the world we live in. Everything is documented, shared, measured. Men don't act, they perform. They don't give, they advertise. Even discipline becomes theater. But you're not here to be liked. You're here to build something real. And the only way to build it is to act in silence, with intention, when no one's watching. Picture this. 2 men help a stranger. One posts about it, waiting for likes. The other walks off before anyone even notices. Which one do you trust more? Which one's rooted in something unshakable? That's the Stoic. He knows his character is carved in the shadows, not under the spotlight. This isn't about hiding, it's about strength. Because when you act without needing recognition, you're free. Free from manipulation. Free from performance. Free to lead without looking back. The man who wakes up each morning and says, "What's the right move?" even if no one claps. That man is dangerous. Not because he's loud, because he's solid. So tomorrow, don't just do what's visible, do what's necessary. Help someone who can't help you back. Make a hard decision no one will understand yet. Stay silent when your ego wants credit. That's how you build yourself from the inside out. That's how you become the kind of man who doesn't need a stage to be a leader. Because if your values only live when someone's watching, they're not values, they're decoration. The Stoic doesn't decorate. He builds, quietly, daily, without applause. And when the applause comes, he doesn't need it. Because he's already proven what matters to himself. And that's the only recognition worth anything. You don't need a perfect morning. You need a grounded one. built on stillness, discipline, and direction. That's what Stoicism gives you. It doesn't hand you peace. It trains you to build it, moment by moment, habit by habit. And if you've made it this far, you already understand this truth. Control isn't something you wait for. It's something you claim. At sunrise, through choice, through intention. Every action we've walked through, from practicing gratitude to doing one hard thing, from journaling with clarity to preparing for chaos, is more than a checklist. It's a path. And that path sharpens who you are, especially when no one is watching. You won't feel the change in a day, but if you practice these daily Stoic habits, they'll change your posture, your presence, your decisions. They'll give you the power to stop chasing and start becoming. Because real discipline isn't loud. It's quiet. Real self-control doesn't seek attention. It seeks alignment. And the man who lives from principle, not impulse, becomes the one others look to when things fall apart. So now it's on you. Not next week. Not when it's convenient, tomorrow morning. Take one idea from this video and practice it. Just one. Keep it simple. Keep it consistent. That's how you build strength, slowly, deeply, permanently. And if you've already been walking this path, or if today's the first step, share your experience in the comments below. Tell us which habit hit hardest. Which one do you commit to? Because this isn't just a video, it's a community of men rebuilding their mornings, and through them their lives. Own your morning, own your mind, live like a Stoic every single day.